All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Georgie's Dripping the Dipping podcast. I'm Molly, your host for the day, filling in for your usual hosts, the infamous AMG Dens and F1 Blag. If you know me, I'm a fan of cars, motorsports, and of course this podcast. So today I'm going to be chatting with William Ross. William, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me. Really appreciate you inviting me on.
Yeah, it's great to have you. For those of you who don't know, William is a car enthusiast, founder and CEO of several businesses in the automotive industry, an expert in the exotic car market, particularly the classic car market, knows a ton about Porsches and Ferraris, I believe. We can get into that later. He's got a background in racing, and of course, he's a big F1 fan, so we have a lot to talk about. So William, thanks for being here. Just to jump right in, kind of a broad question, what are your thoughts on this season's as it's going, F1 and Ferrari in their performance?
It sucks. I mean, I just last week, Mazda, 3-4 is not bad. I mean, hey, take it over what's been going on the rest of the season. Yeah. So, the one thing about, it's small gains you make, you're talking tenths of a second in, spending $2 million to gain a tenth, it's so you got to spend a lot of money to try and go faster now with budget caps and everything like that. So it kind of makes it a little difficult to kind of play catch up. I mean, no one's going to catch Red Bull. I mean, they're just long gone. Well, I should say specifically Max Verstappen's gone. But I mean, they're making gains. I mean, it's to the point is either A, they have to really step up next year or wait for 2025. And
yeah,
it is what it is, and it's just a cycle, and hopefully, Ferrari can get into this cycle because you went Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes, Red Bull. Let's get Ferrari back in this little cycle here in some dominance. So, I mean, I will say this though. I mean, I'm a fan of Charles Leclerc. He's a good driver, but I don't think he'd ever be world champion. I don't think he has it mentally. I love Carlos Sainz. I think he's great, and I think it's unfortunate he's going to leave. He will leave. He's going to go to Sauber, Audi, whatever you want to call him. It's just he's going to because Ferrari's always going to favor Charles or Charles, however you want to pronounce it. So that's kind of sucks. So I don't know who is going to step in. The only thing that lures drivers there is to try and do what Michael Schumacher did and bring Ferrari back to their glory. You got a lot of perks being a Ferrari driver, but that's really the only thing right now that would lure someone to go there. Schumacher went there because, hey, he got his 2 titles and everything like that. So, hey, I'm going to turn around. And look, it took him, 4 years? I'm trying to remember, 5 years before he got the first title in 2000. So it takes a lot of work, but it's not just the driver. It's the car that has a lot to do with it. The driver has a big role, but the car has a major part in this, and all your engineers and everything back in your factory really got to be on top of their game to really get you up front. So it just is what it is.
Yeah, we know Ferrari has the resources. It's a question of kind of getting all the pieces together, and until the car is there, there's not much they can do. I will say, I think Schumacher had a unique skill set that we don't see very often, and I think I like Sainz a lot too because he does seem to have a certain leadership quality to him that maybe reminds me a little bit of Schumacher. Like he kind of is willing to call the shots and play that role. You said you think he's going to leave. Would you like to see him stay and extend his contract?
I would like to see him stay, become number 1, and Charles can go wherever he wants.
Oh, okay.
I know people are probably going to comment or whatnot.
That's an interesting take.
I know they'll get backlash and say, but that's my opinion. That's it, just mine. To your point, I just think Carlos has a better way about him, and I think he could, rally the troops and to get things put to where they need to be. Because I mean, that's what you need. You need that person in that role that can get those people that you need to work together to get done what needs to be done. And it takes a lot. And it takes a unique personality to be able to do it. And I think he has it.
And I think he had more experience outside of Ferrari.
Yeah.
with other teams. And I think Ferrari is a team where more mature drivers tend to thrive rather than someone who comes in young, like Leclerc did. Who would you pair
brat?
Sainz?
Are you calling him a brat?
No, he's still young. We'll give him that. I didn't say it. I didn't say it. Who would you pair Sainz with? Like if you were, team principal in 2024 going to 2025, who would you put in the other seat?
Lando Norris.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be. I think he's great. He's not just he's a great person. If you watch him on some of his other stuff, like on his TikTok stuff like that, and if you watch some of the other videos, he's very down to earth and personal. He's not cocky. He doesn't have this attitude like I'm an F1. He just seems very down to earth, and I think that would be a good pair. I think they could get along. Now that battle between the two, I don't know. I think Carlos plays well when he has that competition, and I don't think there's that headbutting going on. But I just think those two, I think, would be a great pairing.
They got on really well at McLaren, and
exactly.
I think they've got good matching skill sets as drivers. They complete each other.
Exactly. I get that. Because that history is there, and I think they can elevate themselves. To go against. Say, yeah, they're going to compete against each other, but I think their main goal is, the team's got to get better. Get the individuals, they help them, put this together. So I just think that would be a great pairing. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, but I think that would be a great pairing in my mind.
It'd be nice.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
This year we saw a handover from Binotto to Frederick Vasseur in team leadership. And I think it's a little too soon to really know where that's going to head. But what's your take on, was that the right decision to swap out the team principal? Do you think it's going well? Do you think they've got the right leadership in place?
That's a tough one. I mean, I like him. He's all right. I don't think he was the right person. I was a little surprised by that myself. I think Binotto was, he was the scapegoat. They got to, do something to make like they're making the changes. And, Ferrari's a tough place to be team principal. It's so political at Ferrari. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest drawbacks in regards to being successful is the politics that go on there is just crazy, and there's no need for it. And I think that's, why Schumacher was so successful is they kind of cut through that and they kind of got rid of a lot of it and brought people together. But then once he left, they kind of just went back to the old ways. And I don't know if he's the right. I don't know. To your point, it takes, I think, a good 2 years before you can implement and get the personnel you want in place. F1's got this stupid gardening leave stuff in regards to people when they leave somewhere else and they can't go and, they're getting paid for 2 years. I mean, I'd love to have that. Yeah, pay me for 2 years. Yeah. I'll go on gardening leave. I'll go play.
Apparently that's a thing like in Europe. I'm like, I wish someone would pay me to do that. So
exactly. I'll go play in dirt. I don't care. So it makes it very difficult in regards to getting yourself, your vision and who you want in the place. You hire this great, aero guy and you hire a great, suspension guy, you guys think, oh, but they can't start for 2 years or they can't start for next, and then once they start to get that implemented, they can't do anything till next season's car. They can tweak some things, but to really their idea and vision, it's the next car. So they can't have any influence or input on what's going on. So it's just unfortunate. It takes that much time to really implement. And by that time, it's like either they're gone or, hey, they've been successful in getting somewhere and someone gives them their patience and lets them succeed. So we'll see.
And what's your take on the cost cap? Because I feel like the cost cap really factors into that, not being able to spend to implement changes right away or to be able to hire the best people, caps and salaries, things like that. Are you a fan of the cost cap? Pros, cons?
I'm a fan of it. I mean, you look, obviously it brought down, when there was none, you had your top couple. You had Mercedes and Ferrari spending gobs of money, Red Bull as well. So I think it brought that down. But if you break down how you can circumvent it, you know, in regards to certain things are not included in it and certain things are included in it, you know, there's a lot of creative accounting going on in regards to getting around certain things. I mean, I think it'll come into play, you know, in another couple more seasons. And I think when the next rules get implemented, new powertrains and that, I think that could, you know, really see some difference. I mean, I think you see it in the midfield immensely in regards to that competitiveness there, you know, what's going on. You know, you see that, you know, people, you know, hey, for a couple races they're here, but then they're back, they got jumped by these guys because they, you know, had some improvements and whatnot. So the midfield's been, you know, I think really benefited from it. I mean, your top teams are going to be your top teams. You know, you put a cap on it, they're going to have the best people because the best people are going to want to work for the best team. You know, and it's just, but again, there's always creative accounting ways to get around a cost cap in regards to, you know, there's always stuff on the back end, or it says, hey, when you got this, we give you know, and hey, oh, that free Ferrari or that free whatchamacallit you're driving is a company car.
That's not your salary. That's
not your salary. Don't worry about it. You know, so it's all the perks and stuff that come with it, you know, and but hey, you know, it's the one that can play the game the best that's going to, you know, benefit the most.
That's true. And that's always been true of F1, whether the cost cap has been implemented or not. So I don't think that's changed. That's just the sport.
No, I mean, the bonus out of it, though, is Ferrari came back and won Le Mans this year, which was awesome. So they're back in the WEC, so that was fantastic. You know, and, you know, these other teams coming in as well this year because they have all this extra money. So you got a lot of benefits out of it, ancillary in regards to other, you know, implement or racing formats. So, I mean, that's a real huge positive out of that, I think, because, you know, that thing's one thing is lax. You know, back in the day, you know, as far as racing, you know, Le Mans, everything like that, they left. But then it is the privateer stuff back in the day with, you know, Momo and that stuff when the 333 SP and everything, that car was phenomenal, you know, but it wasn't a factory, you know, it was a factory car, you know, but it's always great to see them in those other disciplines and succeed, you know, and that was, them winning Le Mans was almost like a lot of money got paid out to the other team to say, let them win. We need this.
It was, I mean, it felt like a movie moment, you know, like
it did, didn't it?
It did. Yeah. But I think everybody, even people who aren't necessarily Italian fans or Ferrari fans, like were just super, I don't know, it was very heartwarming to see them, how excited they were to win. And, you know, Giovinazzi on the, you know, seeing him race in F1, seeing him kind of, I watched as he went to Formula E, didn't really thrive there. It was kind of cool to see him win Le Mans. And I don't know. It was one of those moments where I don't consider myself a Ferrari fan necessarily, but it was heartwarming. And I want to see them back on top of the sport because it just brings a certain drama we don't have right now. You know, it's exciting. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, anyway,
well, I mean, they've been part of it, you know, since the beginning. You know, I mean, even before the beginning of the beginning, you know, Enzo, you know, racing alphas and that, you know, back in the 20s, you know, being successful there and managing the alpha team. Then all this stuff happened. Then he creates his own car company, you know, and it's just all kind of, you know, they've been there forever, you know, and all these other ones in and out, but, you know, it's kind of that, just that mainstay. And to your point, like, I think everyone was very pleased that they won this year. I think it was, and I think it just was very, very exciting. I was watching it. I was driving down. I'm in Cleveland. I was driving down Cincinnati, which is about 4 hours away to a concourse. And I was watching the end of the race. I had my phone here playing the race in the video while I was driving because I needed to try and get there in the morning. And I'm watching the whole thing right there doing it. And the people probably see when I was passing them. I'm like screaming in the car. They're probably
what's with that guy? Yeah. Georgie and a couple of people mentioned that we have two Americans on the podcast team, which might be the first time that's happened. So I know you're based in Cleveland, you said.
Yeah.
And I live in LA, but I'm from Chicago, so two Midwesterners. So I'd love to talk to you about F1 and racing in America specifically, because I just think this is an interesting topic. I think the racing culture in the US is a little bit different than the rest of the world. So just your thoughts, love to hear your thoughts on where F1 stands in America. There was this big boom because Drive to Survive, and there's lots of people like you who were, fans long before. But and now we're seeing headlines that viewership is going down. There's concern over that. What do you think the sport needs to do to continue growing in the American market?
I mean,
Blake says we're going to say that F1 should have 12 races in the U.S.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's, American viewers are so finicky, and they like this new shiny toy, the new shiny thing came out, and Drive to Survive did huge things for it. And, people getting interested and wanting to check out, hey, going on. But, it's been a few years now, and, the interest kind of wanes. I mean, you're going to have that, you're not going to have a constant growth. You're going to have a little ebbs and flows. I mean, honestly, I think the Miami race is a joke. It just, I mean, that's not a track. The true thing is in Austin. I mean, that's a gorgeous track. It's in a great spot. They do a fabulous job. Vegas is just priced so obnoxiously high to try even want to just be somewhere to watch it. Not even, it's just, why bother? I get, hey, you going to Vegas? I'm like, no, I'm not going to spend that kind of money.
Yeah.
Let's spend a minimum, it's going to cost at least $5-10 grand. That ticket, everything. I mean, rooms are priced obscenely to get a ticket, everything like that. And
we don't even know if it's going to be a good race. Why would I spend $10 grand to go see it?
Exactly. And
terrible.
Exactly. And, the track's not, the layout itself seems nice. I mean, you got a lot of long straightaways, things. So you have your DRS activation, that kind of stuff going on. So, I mean, that could kind of make things interesting, but I don't know. I mean, I'm curious to see how it turns out. I know they have a 10-year agreement, and F1 itself, Liberty is putting it on. There's no component there where, hey, there's a promoter doing it, whatnot, paying them a licensing fee and all that stuff. It's them themselves doing it. So they're taking a big gamble on this. And I know their hope is, hey, if it pays out, they'll make huge money. So I think they'll do all right in the first couple of years because, hey, it's something new, something flashy, something shiny. But, kind of remains to be seen what happens, So I'm curious to see. It's, I'm a big fan of IndyCar as well. And, you watch them. I mean, that's just the competitiveness there and different winners. And so, I mean, it's awesome watching those guys. And those cars aren't delicate little flowers like F1 cars. Is they bang, everything like that, and they just keep going. So, that's the kind of, I think, race, Americans like to see. That's why NASCAR, was hugely successful and not so much now, but as they like to see the contact. They want to see that, that old Rubbins racing and
the aggression.
And see people, and they keep going and driving. You see, but one little tiny nudge and there goes control arm. There goes, you're upright, if something breaks and you're out, and, so I think that's what Americans will like to see more. And I don't think it has anything to do with, Verstappen like just killing everybody. I don't think that has anything to do with it. I just think it's, you don't see that much action in regards to passing, a lot of competitive stuff like that. It's just, those cars are so equally equipped, aerodynamic wise, everything like that, trying to make the pass. I mean, having to rig up a DRS system to try and make things more exciting in regards to passing. I mean, that kind of tells you something right there. It's, take away more aero, go back to the old days in the 80s where you had like single wing elements, everything like that. Make it very simple. Flat bottom, no, anything like that. Single wing front, single in the back, everything. Just make it very simple. Go back to a simple car, and just kind of take away that stuff. And I think there'd just be a lot better racing.
And I think in IndyCar, I'm an IndyCar fan too. It's the stewarding is different in the sense that the drivers get away with a lot more, but it's consistent. So they can be aggressive. They can go for that like kind of crazy move, and like sometimes it doesn't pay off, or maybe they get a penalty, but generally they're allowed to do that. And if one driver bumps another driver, it's not like they're not throwing hissy fits in the media pen afterwards. You know what I mean? Like everyone's a little more grown up about it, and like they're used to just fighting on the track. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, you get a little bump in F1. Those guys are immediately on the radio, crying like little kids. It's like, come on, just keep going. It's just You'll figure
It's
it
like
out.
this. Is this really that hard? This is your job. Is this what you're complaining about, right?
Exactly.
Um, also, I wanted to ask you about, we now have an American driver that obviously doesn't get much airtime because he hasn't done very much, but Logan Sargent. I think there's a lot of talk about whether he's going to be on the grid next year. I think he came into the sport with the thought that having an American driver would grow American viewership, which is not necessarily something I agree with. But I'm interested to hear your take on him and whether he should stay and whether the sport needs an American driver.
I think it needs an American driver. I mean, I think he'll be there next year. I mean, I know Williams came out and said that, be there because there's that push for Mick Schumacher to take the seat. But I just think, I think the powers that be, hey, there's 3 races in the United States, and I think in their mind, hey, we got to keep it. But, you have to give someone time, to adapt to it and the car. I mean, he's successful in the lower categories. He did very, very well, and going through is just, you got to give someone time. I mean, I'm a fan of Daniel Ricciardo. I'm glad he got back in, but I think that was just such a bad deal DeVries got and them sacking him that way. It just, come on. You got to get someone going and, let them acclimate themselves. Now, after year 2, if they're really having to improve what's going on, okay, then you could have that argument. But you got to give someone time to go into it. And plus the fact he's driving a Williams. I mean, well, I know Albon's been doing pretty decently with it, but that's only on specific tracks that suit that car. And again, if you look at the times and look at what he's done, he's not been that far behind. It's just that he has some unfortunate circumstances and getting grid place penalties and, just some unfortunate situations occur where he's not as lucky as Albon's been. So, I think he'll be there next year. I mean, I hope he is. I'm a fan of his. I'd like to see it at 6 I'd like to see the American driver do well. It's few and far between we get one in there. So hopefully he's there next year. I think Williams will improve much. I mean, they're headed in the right direction, which is great.
They are. They're baby steps. They're headed in the right direction. Their car does seem to have some potential. F1 Blag is saying that he thinks Mick and Logan are at the same level. I would agree with that. And I think both of them, Mick probably needed a little more time. And I think Logan deserves a bit more time. I'm not a fan of sacking drivers after 6 months, a year. I think they sometimes need 2 to 3 years to develop, especially if they had a shorter F2 career. So I'd like to see him have more time. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Other questions about silly season. Perez. Lots of speculation about him and whether he'll stay, and that he probably won't. Where do you think he should go if he leaves? Where would you like to see him? Do you think Red Bull should replace him?
No, he's not. I don't think he's going anywhere. I mean, he's perfect compliment. I mean, he's second in the championship. Yeah, he had that little stretch there. And I think that was a mental on his part, but I think as soon as he accepted the fact, look, he's not going to win the world championship. He's the number 2 driver there. Just face it. In the beginning of the season, he won, whatnot. So he's thinking, oh, I got a shot. This say, come on, you got to realize your place and what you're there for. He's getting paid a decent amount of money to be that number 2 driver. So he's got nothing to complain about. And I don't know where else he would go. I mean, all the seats are pretty much taken in essence. I know there's still some to be determined, but where else could he go? So if for whatever reason he doesn't, then I think he'd have to retire or sit out, whatever, because I don't see anyone coming. I don't know who else would replace him either. I mean, that'd be the other choices. I mean, Ricciardo stays at AlphaTauri or whatever they're going to be called next year. The only thing would be is Ricciardo takes Perez. Perez is gone. AlphaTauri, wherever it is, brings in Liam Lawson then next year. I mean, so he's kind of proven himself. He's a great driver, nice young, lots of potential. So, but again, God only knows. I mean, money talks, and hey, everyone can act on a whim. So it's one of those things. It doesn't matter. I mean, what they paid Ricciardo, what is $18 million to have him go on gardening leave, and and he took a 6-month vacation, and then did some stuff, had some fun, and he got back. Now he's racing, driving because he somehow broke his hand. It's a dumb movie, didn't let go of the steering wheel, breaks his hand, so now he's out. But So I don't know. I mean, I don't see them going anywhere. I don't see why they would. It wouldn't make any sense. Because I mean, who would they bring?
They don't need a stronger second driver.
No, they don't.
What's the benefit of having, they could put, like, there's been kind of whispers that they're interested in Lando Norris, but like, do you want another driver in that seat who's gonna, butt heads with Verstappen? Those two are both, they want to be number one, and Perez has played the team game. Yeah. So
and,
I don't know.
And whoever's, manager for Norris, manager for whoever is like, that driver has in their mind to think that, I want to be world champion. You don't want to go against Verstappen in that car because he's going to, obviously, humiliate you, but he beats you consistently. It can demoralize you and really just kill your confidence. And then what do you do? I mean, you're done. You got stuck there 2 seasons, everything like that. It just putting yourself in there would not be a good managerial move. I mean, I don't know how any manager would like tell you, yeah, go join Red Bull. Yeah, you'll compete against them. You can beat them. It's like, come on.
It wouldn't necessarily be the best move career-wise if for a driver who wanted to be that number one or was looking for a championship seat. I know you have a history selling and brokering Porsches, so you must be a Porsche fan. There's been a lot of talk about having Porsche in F1. It's been a little bit quieter recently, but I still think it's something that could happen in the future. If you were in charge, would you rather see Porsche bring an 11th team to the sport, or would you like to see them buy an ownership stake in one of the existing teams?
I want them to buy in, be an engine supplier, and I want Andretti to be the 11th team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why? I mean, the greediness of these other teams, that's all it boils down to, is not letting them in. Look at what you got Cadillac set up to come in as a. I mean, everything he's got set up, it'd just be a huge benefit for F1, especially in America. Mm-hmm. So why is this pushback? It basically just boils down to dollars and cents, and they wrote it in the contract. It's $200 million or $250 million, whatever it was, buy-in, get you in. All right, they got it. Oh wait, no, actually it's 500. Oh wait, no, it's they keep moving that line on them to do it. It's just unfortunate, and Porsche was supposed to come in, but they wanted too much control over what was going to go on, and so that didn't work. So it's like, I don't know who else they could partner with, become a straight up engine supplier and say, hey, all right, who do you want to be our customer team? Who want to be our factory team? And go that route. I don't know. I mean, it's you'd have to probably go after like Williams or something like that. Haas is going to be Alfa Romeo now. So, I mean, still Ferrari in essence. So you'd have to probably do something like with Williams like that. And I think Dorian might take it to where, okay, they'll buy in. Hey, they take X amount of control. I think it could really do a nice influx in regards to dollars in R&D. But, you could have a fabulous engine, which they can provide, and the engineering side of it, they'll make a fantastic engine, but you got to also have the chassis to be able to support that car, so that's what I would love to see. I don't want to see him come in as a straight up, hey, complete team, chassis and engine, because they'll stay for 6-7 years, whatever, then leave. They won't. There'll be no longevity to it. That's the one thing is to look at it. It's like, who's going to be there and stay? That's the one thing about it. It's like, is it just going to be something short term? Their little engineering exercise plays out, and that's that. Hey, we're done. We're going to get out. We'll sell the team, make a bunch of money on it, and just wash your hands of it. That's what I would be afraid to see that Porsche would do, is they would just come in for a short term and be gone.
Yeah, and I think they would. Whereas Andretti, as an independent team, they would stay.
Yeah,
they have the bona fides as a racing team. That's what they're there for, and they've proven success in pretty much every other form of racing I can think of. So that would be really exciting.
Yeah, he's got his hands in everything. That's about the only thing he's not racing in.
Speaking of Andretti, IndyCar, since you're an IndyCar fan, got to see the championship wrapped up. I believe they said it was the first time in 18 years the championship didn't go down to the last race, which tells you how competitive IndyCar is. And we saw Alex Palou win it. What are your thoughts on Palou? I know it's kind of unlikely he'll make it to F1, but would you like to see him? Do you think he's good enough? What seat would you like, or team would you like to see him paired in if you'd like to see him in F1?
I'd love to know what actually happened when he basically told McLaren, pound salt.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I really like to know what's going on there, because if it was clear cut, they would have been, all right, fine, we're done. Zach Brown would have said, forget it. But for them to say, no, we're taking his ass to court, you know, and they put a lot of money into him supposedly, and I guess, you know, signing bonus, or I mean, they gave him a ton of money. So I don't know. I mean, obviously he can drive, but you know, it's, you know, that's the thing about IndyCar. IndyCar, basically, everyone has the same chassis, basically, just different engine in the back, so that can play the role. But basically, it boils down to the driver and getting your setup right. So you know, if you've got that skill set to be able to do it, you can be successful in IndyCar. So you got to have that nuance. In F1, I don't think it really rolls over that much, because you have so many other individuals that really play that role in regard to setting up the car. You know, you put your little input in there, but I just don't think he'd do that well in F1. I don't see it. You know, and you know, unfortunately, you know, Colton Herta looked like he was on his way to go, but now he's, you know, somewhere he's kind of fallen off a bit in regards to competitiveness, you know, this past season. So I don't think that's ever going to come to fruition anymore. I don't know. I mean, he seemed like the best bet out of IndyCar guys to go, was because he had the momentum, he had the backing behind it. And I honestly think it was, hey, if Andretti got in, they were going to take him, and he's going to be their American driver, and they'd get someone else. So I just, you know, it's never IndyCar. I mean, there's those rare times it's happened, IndyCar to F1. Look at Jacques Villeneuve, everything going over, but it's always F1 into IndyCar. That's always come back. You know, it's always gone that way. It's like they can't find a seat there, whatnot. They roadblock or whatnot. Either they couldn't get into F1, or they got in, they had a crappy couple years, and they went into IndyCar. You know, so I don't see him ever driving in F1. And if he did, I don't think he'd be. I don't know. That's kind of one of those unknowns. I mean, he's won the, you know, back-to-back championships. Obviously, he can drive, but I don't know.
The skill set doesn't 100% transfer. I think you're right there. And
yeah,
it's so dependent on the seat that a driver would get, that if they came in and they got a bad seat, or they didn't hit the ground running, their reputation tanks, and they're out after a season, you know. So it's, yeah. And the benefit Herta, I think, had was that he had the backing of Andretti, which in terms of sponsorship and possibly partnerships would have been huge. But also he was younger, and I think a younger driver coming in gets more leeway. But F1 Blag is saying Herta has dropped off this season. I agree with that, which is kind of disappointing. Just have seen him make a lot of mistakes, and you know, his dad is no longer his racing engineer, so
yeah,
it's been interesting to watch.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but I mean, we'll see. You know, you never know. Next year he could bounce back, but you know, it's it would take a lot for, I think, him to get back on track to be considered for an F1 seat. And but like, to your point is, you don't want to just take any F1 seat, just say, oh, I'm racing an F1. It's like, you know, and no, you got to get. I want in a, you know, top level team, one of the top 4 or 5. It's like, well, then trying to get that seat even more impossible. I mean, you got to have massive backing, or you just got to be absolutely crushing it, or just timing and luck is everything, you know, in a lot of these, you know, situations. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Getting back to the topic of sort of Ferrari, I think, just thinking about this, I know you have a background in the exotic classic car market, and a long history as a driver and fan of racing. It used to be that F1 was teams that enter because the belief was you develop technology there that would affect the car market. And by being successful in a race series, you would then sell more cars. Do you think that's still true? Is that still relevant? Do you think that teams see any benefit from that?
No, I think the last true benefit, or that came out of F1 racing technology that translated down into cars, was the, you know, double clutch, automated, flappy pedal gearbox.
It's been a while.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're looking at it. I mean, look at the hybrid system they have on those cars. It's not anything close to what's on a street car. You know what I mean? And I know that's what they're trying to change in regards to that for the new rules and regulations to try and get that more in line. And that's what's bringing in these other manufacturers and that to come in, Ford coming in that, so because it translates in because they need it to be able to trickle down and get something out of that investment. So, but currently, and I haven't seen anything where it's truly, hey, road cars are benefiting from it. There might be some stuff like Ferrari might be getting some benefit out of some things, suspension wise and that kind of stuff. And, with their carbon fiber, technology and design and getting the chassis more stiff, some of that could translate over. But again, I don't really see where that crossover's there to say, oh yeah, it's trickling down and whatnot. I just don't see it. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't see it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think on the brand level, I think it's still true that F1 needs Ferrari more than Ferrari needs F1 because they're not, it's not leading to development in the road cars. It's strictly the brand benefit, and Ferrari is still one of the biggest brands in the world. Lots of people know Ferrari. They don't know F1. So.
Oh yeah, that's why Ferrari gets the biggest check out of F1 every year.
That must be nice, right?
And everyone's, why are they getting 3 times as much as us? Well, they're Ferrari.
Yeah.
And to your point, they need them more than they need them. It's what it boils down to. And it's because they've been there so long. It's just, I couldn't imagine the first race of an F1 season, there's no Ferrari on that starting grid. That would just be baffling. And they would lose such a large audience in regards to that because the folks see everybody that's just a fan that they watch. You'd lose millions of people. And just God, the whole country of Italy would stop watching F1.
They would, yeah.
They would be like, no, no more.
Can you imagine? There'd be national protests. That would be.
Oh, there would be.
Entertaining for the rest of us, but really unfortunate for the sport and for Italians.
Yeah, massive picket lines down in Maranello, that's for sure.
I'm kind of surprised over the last 2 years that more fans aren't showing up in Maranello throwing spaghetti at the factory, but that'll still happen.
Yeah, there might be. We just don't know about it. They're very good about hush hush.
It's true. Yeah,
those people that did it, you don't see them anymore.
They keep things quiet there. The car has it on lockdown. Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see if that ever happened. I'd just be baffling.
Yeah. So I want to pivot a little bit. We have a few minutes left here and talk a little bit about you and your background. I know you spoke to F1 Blag about this, but as a refresher for me and some of the new people listening to this podcast, I understand that you are a kind of a matchmaker for car collectors, helping them acquire special or rare cars, which sounds really cool. It's got to be really cool to connect someone with their dream car. Can you tell me a little bit about your line of work and how you got involved in that? Because I love cars too, so I'm super interested.
I guess I was very fortunate that it's kind of one of those situations where it just, I would say, fell into my lap, so to speak. I started riding motorcycles at 5, then dirt bikes, and then go-karts, and then racing, and I just kind of gradually get up, and then I started working in the auto industry, so to speak. But it was more, I'd say, networking wise, and just, I guess, the passion and stuff. I read a lot. I have just massive amounts of books on Ferrari, Porsche, and just everything F1. And it's just one of those things but it was just kind of stumbled in. In fact, this, one time this person's, mentioned in a conversation, I'm thinking of, getting this and stuff. I'd start, well, what are you going to do with the car? What are your intentions? You're just going to park in the garage, stare at it? Do you want to drive it? Or are you going to go on rally? What do you really want to do with it? Are you buying it as an investment? What's your plans? And, started drilling them down and asking all these questions. And they said, well, you seem to kind of know what you're talking about. Can you help me find them? I'm like, yeah, I know enough people. I could probably help you find. So one led to two led to four, because it's kind of one of those things. So, hey, this person can help you and whatnot, and I just grew from there, and it just I just say it fell in my lap, but I was just fortunate enough that it happened early enough in my life where I didn't have a lot of, I'd say, financial responsibilities where, well, I got to find something that's paying my bills and everything. So I got to do something else. And it kind of worked out that way. And I was very fortunate. And, I guess in a transition, because when I started, the internet wasn't anywhere, it started creeping into dial-up with AOL. I mean, so doing anything online and doing those kind of searches was not there. It was all phone calls and who you knew, and, transitioning that kind of really changed the game, unfortunately, good and bad. There's so many, I'd say, wannabes out there that, think they know they can do this or whatnot. And they give, the industry a bad name because it's just unfortunate. People saying, oh, I have this, or they don't have it. They don't, it's like, well, I need proof of life on this or whatnot. Well, I'll give it to you. And then you don't hear from them again, this kind of stuff. But I just been very fortunate. In fact, is, meeting a ton of great people. This industry is fantastic. Everyone's more than happy to help anybody, and I've always, my position I've been in, I get reached out to a lot on LinkedIn from young individuals. Hey, what can I do to this and that, and I'm more than happy to help them and give them some direction. Say, hey, do this, do that. And, one of the big things I always tell them though is pick up the phone, talk to people. Don't text, don't email. I know everyone's raised on doing that now, but it boils down to is that connection, that partnership, that relationship, so I said that, tell them that's the biggest thing. I go, did you try picking up the phone? No, I didn't think about that. Maybe I should do that. So, yeah, maybe you should, and it gets you a long way because, in a text and email, you're not going to get someone's tone, someone's excitement, someone's worry, caution, what have you. But when you're speaking with them, you get over the phone by being face to face, you're going to clearly see it because you can see it in their face. But you can really get the tone of someone, excitement, enthusiasm, and what it is in their hot buttons when you actually physically can hear it in their voice. But, it's a lot of fun. I said I'm fortunate in that fact that I get to go and see a lot of great cars, driven a lot of great cars. Just dealing with a lot of great people. It's fun. I mean, it just boils down to it. I mean, there's no way to say. I mean, yeah, you're gonna have headaches here and there and whatnot, but that's with anything you do. You deal with it. But it's such a fun industry, and there's so many fun things you can do in this industry. And going back, like I tell people, say, look, there's so many different avenues you can get into this industry with what your strength is. Just identify your strength, find out what in the industry that your strength fits and how you get paid to do that, and go do it. And if you got to do it for pennies on the dollar to start out with, do it. You got to pay the piper and pay the price. I wasn't make much money in my 20s, early mid 20s, doing it. Hey, but I was fortunate that I was able to scrape by and did what I had to do, and it just grew from there. And just having that belief in yourself, and it's like having the mindset. Life is too short. Life is too short. Is last thing you want to be doing is on your deathbed or you're in retirement going, woulda, coulda, shoulda. And looking back, I should have done this. I could have done that. That's I've had a lot of fun in my life.
And people pick up on passion. You love what you do. It's really obvious, and they respond to that.
God, yeah. Really, I mean, it's just, I mean, the new cars, new Ferraris, new Porsches, they're fabulous. I mean, they're engineered to the nth degree. They're faster than they need to be, and they're just awesome machines. But there's no soul in my mind to them. A lot of them. They're just because they're just so over-engineered. I mean, it's fantastic. They drive phenomenal. They're great cars, long distance. But you take a nice, mid-60s Ferrari or early Porsche. It's got that character to it. You feel it. It's got that soul to it. And part of it, I say this and offend somebody, but you feel it in your ass.
Yeah. And living in LA, I see exotic cars all around, but sometimes I'll see classic exotic, and it's just something special. They turn your head like like nothing else.
Yeah.
F1 Blag says he remembers you talked before about driving a Porsche from coast to coast. Did that happen, or is it still the plan? Is that still in the works?
Yeah, we're working on it. we had a speed bump in regards to our funding. We were doing that project going, so we're back on track. So we couldn't get the car over here in time to be able to do it, and we had a lot of stuff lined up, but a couple of pieces that were integral to make it what we want it to be. In regards to, I guess, our branding exercise for social media and that stuff, we just couldn't get those final things into place. So we're still going to do it. I'll let you guys know when, because it says we're going to get a nice group to do it, and we got to do it the right way. So, I'm a big advocate of, don't do something half-assed, do it right, do it correctly, do it, so it takes, I guess, a big person. And I'm not saying that's me. I'm just saying is, look, it's to realize the fact is like, look, you know what? We can't make it happen. It's not going to be done right. Let's just hold off. Yeah, we told we're going to do this and whatnot, but I'd rather do it right than try and have to kind of scratch something together and just it doesn't look right.
Yeah, I got to do it justice, because that would be amazing. And that coast to coast drive is pretty incredible. So
yeah, I've done it a few times and other things. It's a lot of fun. It's gorgeous. I've gone both ways, and you got your northern route, your southern route, and it can get pretty lonely in certain spots. But I mean, it's an awesome drive. I mean, it's a long way, but it's just the things you see, the transitions you go through in regards to just the views and just different parts of the country. It's amazing to see. And there's always, especially the internet's made it fantastic, is you can always find all the cool car things, museums, whatnot, the local gatherings. Hey, there's a Cars and Coffee here. So it's like scheduling, and you do it and say, oh, hey, I'm going to be here at that point. I can go here, this and that. So there's always awesome car things you can do along the way, and I'm a motorcycle person too. So, hey, I also include motorcycle stuff. So, it's just, I recommend it highly to anybody. If they get that chance, rent a car, do whatever, and drive across the country. Take the week to do it. Take your time. Take 2 weeks if you can do it. I highly recommend it. It's a fabulous thing to do and to see the country.
Yeah, our people too, everywhere you go, are welcoming and love to just talk. And it doesn't matter if you're from there or you drive different kinds of cars. I just find that car people are a community that. Yeah.
Exactly. And more than likely, you got about the 500 different blogs and things you watch and view and are part of, and all you do is put out, hey, I'm going to be in your town, XYZ date, Yeah, here's my number. Bam, bam, bam. Your phone will blow up and say, hey, meet us here. Hey, stop by. You will find millions of new friends along the way too, and just experience some great stuff. And as you're aware, and I'm sure everyone else knows, in different segments of the country, the car culture is different in each segment. Boils down to the cars, but how they go about doing it, it's different as you go out through the country. So it's neat to see that. It's getting that different vibe and get that different feel.
So everyone listening who's from Europe or around the world, you should come to the U.S., drive across the U.S. You can visit me in L.A. You can visit William in Cleveland, and we'll have coffee with you and talk about cars. So it's an invitation.
Exactly. You guys know how to get a hold of me, so.
Yeah. A couple more questions, and we'll wrap things up here. I'm curious. We've had, I think, in the U.S. as well as globally, kind of a weird car market for a few years. And I've read various things. Some people are saying that kind of the classic and exotic market is going down. There's a lot of inventory. Prices are going down. Other people are saying that it's steady, that it's going up, that we're on things aren't changing. What's your take on where we are? And for anybody listening who wants to buy their dream car, what's your advice for them? Buy
the best thing you can find. Market wise, I mean, I think it's gone. I think buyers' expectations have gone down. I don't think there's so much value of the cars. I just think buyers think with what's going on market-wise around the world and here in the United States especially, that they think I should be able to save 100, 200 grand, whatever, off a car, it should be paying what was, a year or two ago. But that's not the case, unless you find someone that's desperate, or, you finagle some crazy deal, or someone does it, that means something's probably wrong with the car. I just think it's buyers' expectations have come down in regards to what they think they should be paying, because I've seen it quite a bit lately. And it's like trying to talk to them, say, look, yeah, I know you think it's worth that, but it's not, and, a lot of them will pull out things. Well, this thing sold at this auction for this and this, and that's like, well, look, that was like 100-point restoration car. That's not what this is, and, there's a lot of factors that get, involved. I mean, doing your due diligence in regards to coming up with what you think a valuation of a car is, is very important. But, is that old adage, something's only worth what someone's willing to pay. So you're going to have these owners that think their car is worth millions and millions of dollars when it's not, and you're going to have your buyers thinking that they can buy a $5 million car for $1 million. You're always going to have that thing. Someone's going to get the steal of the century. I think it'll be interesting going into 2024, especially here in the United States, because of what's going to go on election-wise. who's going to be sitting in that chair?
No one's looking forward to the election.
No,
on either side. No.
And the way it's headed, it's like we don't want either. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I mean, I think right now it's not growing how it's usually doing. I think it's kind of leveled, but I just think that a lot of buyers just think that they can get a deal right now just because of what's going on in the markets. So they think they can steal something, and it's like we're like, no, this is what this is worth, and they'll hold out for it. As I said, unless someone's desperate to sell because they're in some sort of situation where they got to get rid of the car, So it's, and my edge is I always tell someone, look, buy the best thing you can afford. Unless you're a master mechanic, know what you're doing, or a body man to boot, everything like that. It's just not worth the headache, time, and aggravation. All that time and money you're going to spend fixing that, getting up and to get it to that point could be 2, 3, 4 years, or whatever. Well, if you would just spent the extra 40 grand or 50 grand on the car, you could have been driving it and enjoying it all that time.
Yeah.
I get it. Not many people are in that position, but again, it's unless you can do it yourself, and unless you got some, want to YouTube it and figure out everything on YouTube and do it because you enjoy it, hey, have at it. But I have ADD bad. I don't have the patience for it. I can't do it. After 10 minutes, my mind's somewhere else. And I follow through. I just like, no, I'm done. It's like, I'll pay someone to do it. So, but, other people, hey, they got that wherewithal to do it, and I mean, you can learn a lot on YouTube, to kind of fix things and whatnot. But the question is does that person you're watching know how to do it? That's the big question.
And do you want to drive the car and have fun with it, or do you want to work on it? Like, those are two different projects. And
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like,
I heard
the other adage is like, look, I know how to, I can change the brakes, pads, rotors, everything in my car and do that stuff. But the thing is, like, I'm always questioning myself. Did I do it right? It's like, I'm nervous that all of a sudden I'm going to put the pedal down, it's just go right to the floor and like no brakes. So it's like,
you feel like you got to take it out and make sure that the brakes.
Yeah, it's like, I'll pay someone else. That way, if it isn't right, I can blame them instead of me.
Yeah, my husband does that to our cars, but we live on a hill, so he's always very careful taking the car out after he changes like the brake pads or like brake fluid, because it's like, well, just in case. I don't want to go rolling down the hill. So
exactly, it's that little thing, that person in the back of your mind going,
yeah. Okay, so final question. I know that this question gets asked to pretty much every guest on the show. I think you were asked this before, but just as a refresher for me and any new viewers, very important question here. Are you a fan of pineapple on pizza? Yay or nay? Very divisive.
I'd eat it. I wouldn't order it. I'd eat it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not bad.
Yeah, just not your favorite.
Not my favorite. I mean, I'm a mushroom guy. I like mushrooms and black olives on my pizza. I usually when we order pizza, I get my wife something, my daughter something. I order my own, with everything on it. One of those situations. But yeah, I mean, I'm not against that. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, like I said, if I was somewhere and that's what they ordered, I'd eat it. I've had it before. It's not bad. It's pretty good. You know, it's got to be made right with what you got with going with the pizza. You know, that's the one thing. And as you should know out in California, because that's probably on every single pizza that's sold out there.
Yeah. It's funny because I'm not a big pineapple on pizza person. I'm like you. I'm like, I'll eat it, but it's not what I would order. So
yeah, it's not bad. I know there's some people like, it's like, try something different, try something new. You know, it's one of those situations. So I'm not against it, but I wouldn't order it.
Yeah, true American.
Exactly. I'm still baffled how we have two Americans on a UK podcast.
A different flavor today.
Yeah,
for sure.
And there's all these guys over in Europe and the UK going, how are these two Americans on here?
Yeah, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
Hopefully they can understand us. I know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Our funny accents.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us, William. It's really fun to talk with you, to talk to another American about cars, about motorsport, about F1. And thanks for all the listeners for tuning in, and to Georgie for having me host today. It's been a lot of fun. So I hope everyone enjoyed this episode. I know I enjoyed hosting. And until next time, this is Georgie stripping the dipping, and we will see you soon.
Thanks, guys.